Welcome back, everybody. This is Mog on Mog Squad playing some more Kerbal Space Program, and we're doing something a little different today. We're going to be launching up, I know we did the station to Eve just recently, but Eve is an atmosphere planet. I didn't want to launch Kerbals, but I did want to eventually do something that would actually fly in the atmosphere of another planet. So what we've got here is a rocket that's going to launch this glider out to Eve. Something that we can glide down into the atmosphere and actually fly around on Eve with. And it has all the science instruments needed, it has a battery, it has landing gear so we can actually land this thing again, and it has fuel. So I'm actually going to show you what this thing is capable of here in Kerbal atmosphere at least, and we're going to go from there and get launched up. But for now, let's check it out. Oh boy, where's my view? There it is. Okay, so here we go. It's actually got a little rocket on it too. I'm going to put it in chase view so it's a little easier to handle. But yeah, this is our little glider. It's actually got really good flight capabilities, and without any fuel at all, it can pick up speed by just cutting tight corners. So check this out. We can actually get this thing going really fast by just spinning in circles and ascending a little bit. We're up from like 14 meters a second to getting contrails from going so fast in the atmosphere. I think I can get this thing up to close to 500, if not 600 meters a second in just rotational force like this. So it should handle just fine out in Duna, which actually has a much thicker atmosphere. I don't know how it's actually going to play out. I've flown it a little bit in the atmosphere for testing purposes to make sure I wouldn't be just going nuts out there with a whole episode for nothing kind of a thing. But yeah, this thing actually lands pretty well. It's got lights. I have brake control on and all that on my. I've got the joystick set up for this, but yeah, this thing comes in just fine for landings too. So we can land this on the surface after gliding in for instead of having to use rockets and parachutes for the descent. So for now, let's go ahead and land this thing, and then we'll get going on an actual launch. So just coming in nice and slow. This thing, unfortunately, does have so much lift for its weight that it's kind of hard to land because it's so responsive. So there we go. I think we're going to come in right now. And there it is. Drop the brakes, and we should be perfectly fine. But yeah, it's a nice little glider, I think. It works really well. And once it's landed, it actually, you can kick in the... Oh, I should probably turn off the brakes, but you can pretty much just take right back off. And then just shut back off your engines, and there you are gliding again. I'm actually, you know what? We're not going to end that right there. I want to take a quick flight around some of these areas, around some of these buildings. Seems to be a pretty common theme when people make gliders. So I don't mind participating with my design. Going over the recruitment offices here. Pick up some speed, and we should be able to get some interesting tight corners and all that too. Tight turners, lol. So thankfully, the joystick works really well with these, where it's kind of, you don't want the all or nothing control from a keyboard. I know that precision controls are available, but I think having a joystick for things like this is way easier. And we're just going to kind of skim along the surface here for a moment. Getting a little leggy coming up to the rocket here. But cool. Okay, we're going to go ahead and just get ready and head on out to Eve, where we shall give this another test flight and see how everything works there. Okay, welcome back. So we are on the launch pad once again with this thing unbroken apart. So what we're going to do here is actually get ready to launch and get going here out toward Eve. So heads up here, I'm about to do the launch. It might be a little noisy as these clamps release and the engines fire up. So you have been warned. So there we are, taking off. This is a pretty light payload in comparison to what this is actually built to do. This is a little over 10 tons in the final descent stage, the actual payload that the rest of the rocket is designed to carry. But yeah, so this launch stage should have more than enough to get us out of Atmo and into a decent orbit. It's definitely designed for it, as long as I maintain a good ascent. Is basically what it comes down to. We're going to tilt over just a hair. This thing can be a little tricky, at least it was giving me some trouble with the joystick because of... oh, I'm totally going the wrong way. Ooh. This is aligned differently than what I'm used to. Okay, so yeah, these wings like to pull this thing around, so it's a bit tricky. So we need to go up on the nav ball, that is, yeah, okay. So that's what we're doing there. Okay, so there we go. We're doing okay now. So we were actually tilted like this, and I just wasn't aware. Cruising up, we're about 180 meters a second, which is definitely good. We want to watch that though, because we are still only about 7 kilometers off the surface, and we don't want to exceed at least 200 at the very least. In fact, actually at this point we're probably the terminal. Yeah, here's our terminal velocity right here. I keep forgetting I actually have it on the window. This is as fast as we can go, at least effectively, without the drag causing too much of an issue at this point. So kind of a handy thing to have up on our screen for sure. So gonna go ahead and start tilting over to the 45, because we are just past that first layer of atmosphere where that becomes a bit easier at this point. Oh, we do have our staging we can drop. Almost missed that. Well, I did miss that, I suppose. But hopefully you guys enjoy this. This is actually the first time I'll have legitimately done this. When I tested this craft, it was the first time I'd actually tested a glider on another atmosphere planet, and that was with the use of HyperEdit to just edit it into the orbit so I could just drop it into the atmosphere to make sure it flew decently. Yeah, this will be the first time I've actually ever done this. Actually launching a glider over to another planet with atmosphere. I had always pictured Lathe as being the only other one that I could really do. Duna seemed too light with the atmosphere, too thin. And I just totally spaced on Eve actually having an atmosphere, even though it has oceans. I totally just blanked on that. But yeah, so this should be interesting. And the cool thing about Eve is it's definitely got the thickest atmosphere out of all these planets in the system. So, okay. Calm down that roll. This thing was going a little crazy there for a moment, if you noticed. It does like to roll a bit. I think it's part of the full throttle. It just goes a little crazy in the atmosphere. Once we get out to zero atmo, it shouldn't be a problem because these wings will stop affecting things. But currently, they just kind of like to pull around the ship more than is necessary. So there we go. We are free of our initial launch drop tanks. And we should be getting up. Oh, I'm way past. Oopsie daisy. 136 kilometers. I'm just not even... I was not even watching that. I had forgot to tilt over at the 40. My bad. So let's go ahead and get this node set up. This will be a little less fuel efficient than anticipated, but you know what? Whatever. That's fine. Get that down there, 136, 147. Actually, we can bring that back in. There we go. This should be a bit more even. 137, 134. That's perfect. Let's hit up that node, shall we? Got enough electricity still, thankfully. I think I forgot to put a way for this stage to actually get electricity other than these guys. Oh, that might be tricky. That might cause issue. So we need to burn for about 1 minute and 8 seconds, about 1031 delta V, which should be fine, I think. We just need to get this thing to the node. That's where it's going to become an issue. So if we can't find that node... There it is. Go down! Go down! Stop it! Okay. We're almost there. And we need to burn for about 34 seconds roughly, so T-minus 34 is what we're aiming for. I'm just gonna go for it and gonna use the rockets themselves, the vectoring, to correct for our placement. Give it a little thrust so we can get that motion going though. 34, here we go. And we are burning for it. So we should have, yeah, we should have more than enough to finish off this orbit, and then we'll actually have a bit of a boost out toward Eve as well. And we are lined up and ready to go there on that stage. As far as the phase angles go, I've actually already planned for it. But yeah, if you didn't see it at the start of the video, this is the glider. It's got a couple of antennas sticking out the side, it's got a few fuel tanks, it's got a small battery. Here's the probe body itself. It has the arrow, thingamajig puff stuff? I forgot what that's called, the flight computer thing? I don't know. Whatever. It's got all the science instruments right here, and there's the 3 box ones, and then the thermometers up top here, which will be kind of cool to look at Eve, because Eve is such a hot planet. It's got a tiny little Rocco Max engine at the back. So that's what that glider is. Thrust those down, and we are looking good there. Kill rotation to stop trying to chase that node. And alright. So let's take a look at our phase angle. We should be pretty close. 83, and we want 0.80. We're at 0.83. We should want 0.87 for where we're going, which might be pretty quick here. It might actually be on the next pass. We'll set Eve as the target. Zoom on in here, and should we burn right here? I think we might burn on this pass. It's close. It's really not that much of a difference. So push that out, and let's take a look at how we're looking overall on this. Pretty close. 53. If I can we do that click trick on this, where we click on the tag and have it stay? Doesn't look like it. Okay. How far are we away though? 500 kilometers? 500,000 kilometers, that is? Not 500 kilometers, Jesus. That would be kind of crazy, huh? Alright. So adjust there. Oh, we do actually have an encounter here. Look at that. That was a quick encounter, but encounter nonetheless. Nice. Okay, we're gonna go with that, and then we'll probably end up just correcting our orientation as we get there, and that'll put us even better in an even better position. Away with you, node angle or phase angles. And let's turn on some physical time warp and get going. Now, I'm using the keyboard for this. I know I mentioned I was using a joystick earlier. I do have the joystick directly in front of me, but actually controlling Rocket, much easier with the keyboard, I think. Because, like, your roll axis is different. I mean, it feels different. Like a joystick, your roll axis is to the left and to the right, tilting the stick. And your yaw is turning the stick, at least on my setup. It could be pedals, it could be whatever you set it up for, but that's how it's set up for me. I think it's the most straightforward as far as actual, like, lift-based flight. Whereas rockets, it's much easier and makes way more sense to use a keyboard for controlling, I think. That's just personal preference for me, but that's what I'm using in this instance in case you're curious. So 42 seconds, we need about 1048.9 delta V. It's judging it at 42 seconds with this engine. That is not going to be the case. We're going to switching off to the Nervas here. So we'll have a little under about 200 delta V that we'll need to burn off with nuclear engines. So because of that, we're probably going to start this at about T-minus 40 seconds, I think. That should be a prudent spot, I think. Maybe 45. Let's go T-minus 45 is what we'll shoot for. So zipping down, getting close here. Just to a minute, just about, and then we'll start our burn here momentarily. T-minus 52, 51, 50, 49, 48, 47, 46, and engines engaged. Full throttle, dropping our burn time here. Dropping that required delta V for sure, pretty darn quick here. Okay, so bye-bye Kerbal. We'll see you sometime eventually again, I'm sure. But this probe body might not. This probe is going to be lost to the vicious nature of the Eve atmosphere. You know, it'll be interesting. The Eve atmosphere does go much higher than the Kerbal atmosphere does as far as overall kilometers from the surface. I wonder how high I can get with this probe on its limited energy. Now this thing won't be able to do much for too long. I'll have to make sure, like, to start flight and land in the sun, because it has a very small battery, 200 delta V, or 200 capacity for energy, and it's only got a few solar panels to provide that. And that's all this thing has. No real sustained way to maintain energy for long after the sun sets. So it'll be interesting. This looks like it's gonna need about 20 more seconds, and yeah, it'll be T plus 20 or 40 seconds total by the time this burn finishes. Is what it's guessing at. So I think we time out pretty good at T minus 45 with the split in the rockets. I think that was pretty spot on. But I'm gonna cut the engines back just a little bit so it's a little bit more controlled here toward the end of the burn, because it is very delicate operations at the very last few seconds with these little engines and such big transfers. Okay, we're gonna call that good, and I think we've actually got the maintained encounter. So let's get rid of that, and oops, we switched over to Moby Dick, satellite around Kerbin. My bad. Let's go ahead and switch back out to the AtmoGlider. And wow, I'm actually quite surprised we didn't crash. I was half expecting a crash there. Okay, so we are on an escape trajectory out of Kerbin's sphere of influence, and in a collision course? Nope, not quite. We'll have to correct for that. That's perfectly fine. In fact, it'll probably get corrected once we adjust our inclinations. But alright, let's go ahead and fast forward this and get out of the sphere of influence of Kerbin. Bye, Kerbin. We'll miss you. There's Kerbin's eyeball. Alright. Bye. We'll miss you. Miss you forever. Forever, Kerbin. Okay. Our alarm clock's about to ding on us here. We'll delete that that marker and we'll jump back out here to the rest of the system. Doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. And let's go ahead and target Eve, and we're going to set up the node for correcting our orientation a bit. Oops. There's the point, roughly. Probably right about there, actually. And we want to go down. How are we looking? 0.7. And boom. Zeros. We're about 160 kilometers or 1,000 kilometers above the surface, or well, as far as relative close distance from the planet of Eve. So what we're going to do here is actually try to get the encounter settled. So I'm going to speed it up a bit. It looks like that's going to do the trick. Let's take a look and keep that up and see what this is going to do for us. How close can we get from this point? I think I am going to do some aero braking. I think I'm going to shoot for a bit lower this time too. Look at that. We can get down to like 5,000 kilometers. Just from this point. That's awesome. Okay, we're going to do that. That's going to be a pretty darn close encounter. We'll have a good long while in the Eve sphere of influence to do all of our maneuvers that we need. So we got some pretty decent control here. How's our energy looking? Good. I'm very glad that the maintaining like actual probe control is decent. Like as long as you have some sort of energy production, you should be just fine. That's the tricky part about this though. If I can make it all the way to Kerbin or to Eve while maintaining electricity, we'll be set. Perfectly set. It needs about 337.2 meters a second delta V, which is going to be about a minute 30 seconds roughly, probably somewhere around there. 16 days out, 22 hours. Let's go ahead and get this going. I'm going to come back to you guys as we're getting in close to Eve. Okay, everybody. So we are coming into Eve here. We're getting pretty close. We're going to have the final, well, our initial periapse is going to be just over 3,000 kilometers, or just under 3,000 kilometers off the surface of Eve. So let's see. Coming in here, we're gonna get slowed down by our alarm clock, making sure we don't overshoot anything. There it is. Close that, and we can already see the path of Gilly out beyond beyond Eve here. So let's go ahead and get this moving. And look at that, just a huge amount of time that we're going to spend here in the initial pass sphere of influence here. So let's go ahead and we're going to reverse our incoming area. Periaps of about 130, 137, or 134, I'm sorry. Oops, and let's see if we can get that corrected as well. So probably right about there is pretty decent. Right there. So what are we going to need for this? Looks like about 156 delta V. 156.4 delta V that we're going to need to burn off here. Meters per second delta V, I should say. It's relative terms, but yeah. So about 35 seconds and about 16 minutes here if we can get to that node. Which, are we out of electricity? Yeah, we are. And we're unfortunately facing the wrong direction. This is super. How can we fix this? Boy, I wish I would have put a few more Jigglypuffs on there. Solar panels, that is. Damn it. Let's see. How can we do this? Where is Eve in relation to us currently? Way up there. So we're getting pulled in. We should go by and fling out. Are we gonna actually get? We're not. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna cheat here just a hair. We still have a ton of fuel in here. We got more than enough fuel. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna cheat. I am gonna cheat. We're gonna refill our electricity by refilling all of our information there, all of our stuff, and we're gonna flip this thing around so that at least we can get some sunshine on these panels, because that's what we need right now. Jeez, I can't believe I did that. Ugh, that's terrible. That is my bad. My bad, folks. My apologies for cheating. I should have really planned that out more and put some more solar panels around. I don't know why I didn't put solar panels on this, or possibly even just some of those radial thermal generators. That would have been what I should have done. So my apologies for having to cheat. That's kind of the last thing I wanted to have to do, but there was really no other way around it, unfortunately. My bad. I got a phone call. Hold on just a sec. Okay, sorry about that. My bad. Okay, but yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna have to watch this this angle in the sun so we don't run out of fuel or out of electricity. That is a very small set of batteries. I should really update this craft. In fact, that's probably what I'm gonna have to do. In fact, I'm gonna make a note of that right now on my scratch piece of paper up here for these kind of things. So the AtmoGlider is what this is called. AtmoGlider needs more electric incoming charge stuff. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Needs more batteries. Okay. Noted. Gonna be fixed. My bad. But let's go ahead and we're gonna get in there to the burn point so we can get this orbit going. And I think what I'm gonna try to do also is I'm gonna do a better aero brake this time too. I think I'm gonna try to do a way better aero brake. So I need about 35 seconds of delta V, which means about 17 to 18 seconds prior to the node is when we want to start burning with these engines. So let's get down to that point. I'm gonna start at about 20, I think, T-minus 20. And there we go. 21 and 20. Let's start these engines up. And another thing to keep in mind, a lot of engines do generate electricity. Nuclear engines do not. As well as there's a few other small engines that don't generate electricity when they are being run. But most bigger engines, most standard chemical engines is what you'll mostly see in the propulsion tab of your vehicle assembly lab is, yeah, they'll mostly all take and give electric charge. They won't take it, I don't know what I'm talking about. But let's take a peek here. We're correcting our orbit. We're going to be going around the correct orientation of the planet, so that we're following the rotation of the planet. A little bit not follow that node. Okay. So the trick here, I'm going to set up another node up just up here a little bit. And I'm going to actually keep this posted so that I can possibly monitor my electricity in case it starts dropping again. So let's do that. Let's slow this thing down a little bit, and actually I'm going to click on this and keep that open. We're at about 230. Let's lower that. Let's try to get... I can't read that. That's all chopped over. My bad. This has not been a smooth transition. Away with you, notes. Oh, we're past that node already even. So I'm going to set this a little further ahead, and we are not time warping. That's good. Come on! Come on! Give me the damn node! Oh, that's one thing about the map view that's a bit tricky sometimes. Doesn't always like to play nice. Oh, geez, you were right there. Okay. So let's... Can we click that now? That's still looking like it's going to be cutting over. Okay, I think that's about an 80. Let's start with that for now. And I think we need to flip all the way around. I'm going to make sure that we're still facing the sun with our solar panels, though. Okay, at least once we get to the node, that is. Physical time warp, yay! So right here is going to be our retrograde marker. And we're pretty much sitting right on top of it. So actually I can monitor my periaps from here. So once you sit on that retrograde marker, I'm actually just gonna drop this. I'm gonna shoot for about 70. I think is gonna be the trick part. About 70 periaps should be deep enough into the thick enough atmosphere of Eve to hopefully circularize, or at least get our orbit close without any fuel. So 165, 160, 150. We're dropping. I'm just watching right up here in the cockpit 1 window that I've got set up. 100. So we're cutting into the atmosphere now. Well, not now, but it's about where we're going to be into it. I think I'm going to go about 71. Should be deep enough. Okay. Get rid of this node here. We're at 71. And let's see how this works. Let's actually, before I do that, let's make sure we're facing this thing again. Rotate this way. Now, if this is going to be enough to capture us, then it won't matter as much if we run out of electricity past this point. If we're in a captured orbit, I'll be able to at least make orbits to regen, and hopefully at some point we'll be facing the sun. So at least we won't be on an escape trajectory. That would not be good. So let's shut that back down and let's get moving here, shall we? Zooming on in to Eve. Oh, geez, I'm glad I stopped that. Whew, that would have been close. So, okay, we're going to cut right underneath the trajectory paths of the E08 satellite here and our space station Venus. Now, if you haven't noticed, I've been kind of going with a theme. The space station's named for the planet's equivalent in real life. And the eyeball of Eve. I like how some of the planets with oceans tend to have these. It's kind of cool. It's a big crater impact, basically. And I'm going to zoom back out here. We're going to take a look at this and see kind of what happens. Watch our apoaps. We're on a hyperbolic orbit, which means we're totally not in a orbit at all. We will be shooting back. Well, we're in an orbit around the sun, but not the current sphere of influence. So let's speed this up a little bit and see how this goes, shall we? So dropping below 100, we are in the space where we need physical time warp, and the atmosphere is going to be taking over now. Actually, it's pulling us back to the retrograde, that's all. So we are losing electricity because we are out of the view of the sun. So while I have electricity, I'm going to rotate a bit more this way, and we are in the 70s, 76. And let's watch this, shall we? It should be starting to curve. It definitely is taking advantage and curving, pulling that back in. So I'm kind of curious. I'm not going to touch for giving any boost. We're not going to use any fuel and just see how this goes. We're dropping in. Oh, look at that. We're getting re-entry effects this high off the surface. That's pretty cool. And that's definitely curving. Is this going to be enough to circularize? It sure looks like it's going to do the trick. So coming in at about 71 kilometers seems to be doing the trick. Is it going to capture us? Oh, this is close. It looks like we're going to get a capture. That's so cool. I think that's awesome. Look at that. No fuel used to do this aero braking maneuver. Let's see how far this can get us down, actually. Just going to watch here. It's definitely dropping our speed still, because we are in the atmosphere. It definitely gave us some of that re-entry effect, so I don't know if that would actually be a legitimate maneuver in a spacecraft because of the damage it could cause to the craft. Because of the heat. Because that's what that is. It's heat buildup on the re-entry. Even though it's not a full re-entry. But that's cool. I am going to take advantage of this though, and I'm going to bring this in a bit more now that I've kind of definitely been able to capture us without any fuel. I'm gonna start correcting our orbit and circularizing. So let's turn on the rockets and start pulling that in a bit more, shall we? And we're now out of the atmosphere again, so this shouldn't be a problem. We should be able to keep ourselves in orbit. We're not going to be pulling ourselves further into the system, into the atmosphere. We are still dropping our periaps though. That's fine. It can be corrected for, but all the same, we're going to be dropping into the atmosphere anyway. I just want to make sure that we're going to be on the right side. So we are still losing electricity at this point, but I think we're going to have enough to pull this off just fine. Man, I can't believe how much Delta V this stage has for this light of a craft. For the 10-ton payload, this thing had over 6,000, well over 6,000 Delta V in it. That's enough to get pretty much to any planet. So keep that in mind. That stage with the well, I'll show you. This stage, this interstellar stage, has a ton of Delta V for a little payload like this. Now the cool thing is this separates, and we can kick it off, and this stage has rockets of its own, landing gear, it has parachutes if we want to try to land this. I might actually try to do that since I kind of built it for that. Try to land on the surface with this and then eject this off to fly. But if it really comes down to it, becomes too crazy, I'm just going to detach and let that part fall away from us and just fly this down to the surface if it really comes down to it. So how are we looking? We're getting there in a pretty good orbit. It is still dropping, but that's okay. So, physical time warp, shall we? Get this going, get this moving. Don't want to go too crazy because these things do get a bit wobbly. And we are gaining electricity again because we are back in sunlight. So we're going to tilt a little bit more, make sure that all of our panels are well facing it. And we pretty much are going to be crashing into the surface if we don't correct that other side. That's fine. You know what? We're going to leave it like that. We're going to zip out and then... No, that's the dark side. No. Bad Mog. Bad. Okay. Instead, we're going to stop right there. We're going to come out here. We're going to push our periaps back out a little ways. And then we're going to come in for a landing on the next pass. It's going to be the plan. So zipping out here to the apoaps of 1,320,000 meters, aka 1,320 kilometers. Can we zip down to that retrograde marker? I think we're going to be able to. I like how the probes actually do have a bit of torque. It's still a lot lower than what you'll see for torque on a manned craft. I think these are in like the 1 or 2 torque range as far as the value that's assigned to torque, whereas like a man pod, like the 3-man pod, I think is closer to 5, or maybe it's 15. I could be totally incorrect there. I think maybe 5 for the 1-man pod. All the same, pretty cool, I think. But good old Eve, we've actually got an aero glider out here to Eve. Now this is the same craft that I should be able to take to Lathe, which is another atmospheric orbital body around Joule. So maybe we'll try something similar out there one of these days. So let's push. No, not retrograde. My bad. We want prograde. Blah. What am I saying? This is terrible. I'm just making mistakes left and right on this video. My mistake, folks. Learn from my mistakes. don't use hyperedit to correct your crap if you can help it, unless you're doing YouTube videos and you don't want your audience to be totally left in the dark as far as a ruined mission goes. So you can definitely manage this. And we are coming up on the prograde marker here. Let's do some kill rotation. We'll just handle this by hand from here. Once again, I am sorry. I definitely did not want to have to use that, so I apologize. That's just totally unprofessional as far as a pilot goes. Then again, mistakes like this happen. So we're pushing our periaps back out. We're out of orbit again there, or out of atmosphere there, so we're fine. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get going here. I'm actually going to come back to you guys and not make you sit through this when we get back to getting ready to land. We're going to go in for a landing. See you soon. Okay. So here we go. We're coming in. We got a periaps of about 31,000, so we're absolutely going into the atmosphere here, and we're not coming back out. Is how this is going to go down, basically. So we're going to zip around here. We're going to be swinging in. We're going to be slowing down because the atmosphere is going to grab us here any moment. In the meantime, I'm going to try to flip us around so that we're facing retrograde. And hopefully, with enough time to get facing completely backwards, because that's the way we want to enter. So that our rockets are facing backwards so that we can help slow our descent. And so that when we kick off this stage, it's not going to slam into us. So here we are. Coming in, we're now getting closer to the atmosphere. We're at about 88 kilometers off the surface. And as you can see by the atmosphere markers up here, we are just about to enter. And with barely enough time, we made it to the retrograde. And should be facing upwards toward the sun. We're getting electricity again. That is exactly what we want to see. Now, as you can see, this stage is going to separate. We have landing legs and the good landing legs because the gravity on the surface of this planet is ridiculous. I'm hoping that these parachutes might be enough to help us slow all the way down, or enough down, so that our rockets can actually be effective. But I think Eve has, like, I think I read 4 times the gravity, roughly, of Kerbal. I can actually check that real quick, too. Gravitational parameters, surface gravity is 16.7 meters per second squared, comparatively to Kerbal. Where is it? I'm looking on the Wikipedia page on the other side here. So let's see. Eve. Planets. Where are you, planets? There you are, planet. So 16 whatever squared is what we saw for that one. Surface gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared for Kerbal, so it's just under twice as much gravity. So that means with a craft of the same size descending on either planet without atmosphere, you should fall at about just under double the speed. I think is how that works out. I could totally be wrong on this. That is just guesswork, and I am no mathematician, nor am I a rocket engineer, rocket scientist. That is not me. We're starting to see some re-entry effects here, looks like, which is totally fine, but we are certainly going to be coming in quick. Look at that, we're still like 3,000 meters a second. That's over what is it? 3 kilometers a second? Yeah, 3 kilometers a second. And we're just dropping. I kind of hope we get over land, because I don't want to have to fly this thing for ages to try to get to a spot where we can land the glider. But it's slowing us down. I'm going to start running these rockets a little bit to aid in that a bit as we get close. We're about 56 kilometers off the surface and dropping speed very quickly, which is good. It's what we want. We don't want to be slamming into the surface at 3,000 meters a second, you know? That doesn't seem like it would work out well for anybody involved. Alright. I'm gonna skip it up just a hair with double time, which may be a terrible idea. Quick saving. Cannot quick save when I'm in atmosphere. Okay, fine. I won't quick save then, game. Deal with that. Now, I know nuclear engines work just fine outside of atmosphere, but these are picking up heat quicker, partially because it's in atmosphere, so they actually do heat up quicker, especially when you add in the surface temp issues. Venus is the closest, well, one of the closest planets it's closer than Earth would be to the sun, obviously. And And that is the same thing that goes for Eve here. It is certainly closer. So we're looking good. We're going to land on this continent, looks like. So for now, I'm actually going to kick off that stage. Okay. Going a little crazy now. Re-entry. It's throwing our thing wacky. We're going nuts. And I'm also going to kick out our parachutes. Hopefully that'll aid us in stabilizing ourselves a bit. They are and should be above the center of mass, but this is a very long ship, so we'll see how that actually ends up working out. This is just going crazy. This is a little scary. And I'm gonna change views so that's not quite as nuts, okay? Deal? Sound good? Alright. Oh, these wings. This is gonna be interesting. I'll fire some of our rockets, just a hair. But with this thicker atmosphere, this could be tricky. Let's go ahead and extend our landing legs so that they're available to us. Oh, wow. This is insane. Okay, I'm beginning to think that we're probably going to have to detach. We're still dropping speed, thankfully. But it's slow, and I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off well for an actual controlled descent. Wow, just look at that. Can you imagine being in a craft doing that? In atmosphere with gravity? Oh, I'd be losing my mind. In fact, you can see here that the G-force gauge is actually just going a little crazy. It's well within acceptable ranges, but that's some violent shaking. Sorry about the noise there from the cars. Seriously, we're near Seattle, and everybody here seems to have like those freaking you know what I'm saying? The tips on their mufflers. Shit's ridiculous, I think. Okay, screw it. We're not gonna get this thing stable. We're gonna go ahead and detach. Ready? 1, 2, and 3. Ugh, flung us up there. But that's okay. We are now a bit more stable. And I can take over with my joystick. So I'm gonna put this into chase cam mode so that we're a bit easier on the controls, so we kind of have a good stable camera. We're zipping down. We should be just fine. This now that we're detached, we're not unfortunately going to be able to. What am I doing? I don't need gear yet. We're not going to be able to have a little lander there on the surface, I don't think, unless it stabilizes itself. In fact, I kind of want to go with this and see what happens. I'm going to try to stay close to it and see how it ends up handling without this on top. It might be a bit better if I can stay with it. Turn on the rocket just a hair, speed up. Oh, I'm gonna, I don't have MechJeb on here, so I'm gonna have to rely on the altimeter. Is that what it's called? Altimeter. That's what it is. I should know that. I'm gonna put away the landing gear again, though. We're definitely coming down. We're just catching up on it, and it looks like it's fairly stable. I wonder if I stay near it, if I'll actually be able to watch it land. As long as it lands on a decent spot. It's looking like it's staying upright. So with the parachutes, we should be okay. As soon as those deploy, it might be a bit tricky to stay up with this thing, though. So I'm gonna try to keep that in view for us and stabilize out a bit. In fact, I'm gonna if I can get it, I'm gonna target it. There it is. Okay. So we've got our target, so we can actually watch this thing. It's probably going to deploy here pretty quick, though I don't know how it's going to handle with gravity. It seems to be going pretty quick down. And without rockets on it, or well, without the rockets firing, it may have a very hard time landing, so we may see this just rip apart. You can see its shadow. Man, are we going to be able to catch it? Or did the thing, did they deploy? They may have deployed. Those look deployed. Are they gonna land? We're just zipping toward the surface. It's funny. Nice. Thing actually might be okay. So detached our glider that was causing a lot of issues in the atmosphere. And I think my goal here is going to be just kind of make sure this thing stays around, because if you leave them too far, they have a chance of breaking or at least not functioning properly, so landing is very difficult for them. But if we can glide here with it, we should be able to actually make sure that it lands properly and we actually have a little marker on the surface. Look at that. That's kind of cool, I think. That was pretty violent, though. That re-entry. Oh, jeez. That would have been rough. Pretty cool, though. But yeah, I wanted to make sure that that was maintained, so at least we had something that we could kind of mark for our landing spot, even though this is going to be our main unit. We probably won't be seeing that landing can much. Well, it's not really a landing can, that landing structure. Descent module, if you will. Hopefully it's going slow enough that those legs and everything handle it just fine. Whoa. For now, I'm actually going to go ahead and deploy the landing gear. That is going really slow. I'm glad. I'm pretty stoked on that. I was worried that that would happen with the glider on top having a bit of an issue. Fly underneath it? I think so. Okay. Up, up, up. Don't fall. Don't stall. Got down to like 3, almost 4 meters there, or meters a second for speed. This is a very bright surface with lights. Let's turn those off. There's my shadow. That's good. There it is. We're gonna see it. Look at that. Perfect. So there's home point. Oh, oh, wrong way on the controls. On the view. So I've got this thing has fuel in it, so it can actually retake off and all that, as you saw at the start of this video. And it should be able to pick up speed just fine in this atmosphere. Look at that. Jumping up from like below 20 up to 100 pretty darn quick, though it does lose it pretty quick too. It just gains speed while it's turning and fighting against the atmosphere. So cool, guys. We've made it. I'm going to go ahead and start deploying its science instruments while in flight. We have some antennas here, of course, because what probe wouldn't be complete without a set of antennas, right? It needs to communicate with somebody. Wow, this is some thick atmosphere. Seriously. This thing just glides at like no speed at all. Gravity, 16.66 where we are at currently. Our accelerometer, I don't think it's going to work. Oh, it is. I don't even know what these do, really. Barometer pressure, I think that's our atmospheric Jigglypuffs. And thermometer, 149.84. I think that's going to be Celsius, if I'm not mistaken. Which, if you know how the Celsius thing works, which I don't, I'm American, we use that stupid imperial standard crap. I kind of wish we used the metric system. It makes so much more sense. I just wish I was familiar with it. Let's go ahead and bring this thing in for a landing, shall we? I do want to make sure that we're landing close to the landing point. To our lander, that is. Durr. It's kind of nice. This thing's a lot more stable in this thick atmosphere. I can just coast with great efficiency and control. All right. Where is that? Back that way. Alright. Since we're a little ways away now... Oh, go away, rockets. We don't want to use your fuel. We're going to turn this thing around and come in for a landing facing it. I'm going to shut off those lights since we don't really need them at this point. 30 meters a second. That's perfect for landing. Just fine. And... I think that's it. We are on the surface of Eve, all landed with our glider and our lander pod. Awesome, huh? I think that's pretty awesome. It's the first time I've done that. So cheers, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. As a reminder, if you want a Kerbal in the game here, I'm going to extend the same offer I've been extending lately. If you're the first person to comment here, you get a Kerbal named after you or of a name you choose, as long as it's appropriate. I've also just signed up on Twitter so that you guys can get quick updates whenever I upload a video. My name on there is @CaptainMogLP. So if you want to check it out, if you've got Twitter, go for it. If you want to stay up to date without using Twitter and you have a Google Plus account, I'll also be sending updates to the Google Plus account. If you don't have that, there's also a blogger page that I will try to keep updated as best I can. Once again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Cheers.